I
All
bet
right,
Chuck
well,
wish that Brad Raffensperger would have had that come on before he came and asked for all those votes. But
a
Georgia,
warning.
yeah, well, Georgia is a one person can record at will state
Oh,
without
interesting.
telling anyone. Yeah. So
That's
boom.
right.
Not
California is not.
yeah.
California need to make sure that people are notified. So I am hereby
Yeah.
notifying, and Zoom just did also that I'm recording this.
Sorry.
So good. This is a nice small group. I want this to be interactive, so please just stop me along the way and ask questions. I do have a handful of slides to share, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to make sure I can see all of you guys as well at the same time. Let me put you over here on my other screen. And there we go. So thank you guys for joining, and this is a nice small group. So like I said, I want this to be interactive, so please stop me along the way if you have any questions. What I really wanted to focus on today is give you some highlights of the Women in Leadership, or the Women in Engineering and Construction Leadership Program that I have called the Alignment Solution, and you'll see a little bit more about the curriculum here in a second. And since you're off mute, can you just give me a thumbs up? You can see my slides, and no problem, there's the cover slide there. Perfect. Okay. So what I'm gearing up for is the fall cohort of the program, which is starting, gets kicked off at the end of August, and then the first group workshop is on September 12th. So what you can see on the slide there are the dates of the 6 workshops. Just a quick intro. Most of you, all of you know me. So I have 25 years in the industry in engineering and construction. Most of you know me from partnering and facilitation. And I really just kind of started to explore my own curiosity with this program, because frankly, the partnering facilitation, as you might imagine, being in conference room after project to project, was starting to get a little stale for me. And I have high learner talents, which you'll hear what that means. My number one strength is learner, and I love to continuously learn. I'm an executive and leadership coach, so you can see some of my certifications there on the screen. And as a coach, I really started to hear not just what happens in the classroom at a partnering workshop, but I coach a lot of women leaders, and especially women leaders in this industry, whether it's engineering or construction focused. I started to hear some of the same issues that were kind of popping up with people that I cared about as their coach. And so I designed this program kind of based on my decade or so of experience as a coach and drawing on some amazing resources. And so I put just a quick list there together. It's not nearly all of them, but I'm a big podcaster, so I love listening to podcasts. I've got a couple there on the list that are some of my favorites. Some of my favorite books and the certifications that I learned from are also on this list. But I'm really drawing on kind of 2 main things. And go ahead.
Are we going to get a copy of this
Yeah,
presentation?
yeah,
Because
I'll send this out to you
I'm going to take
after.
a picture of the screen because I always take, yeah, books.
Yeah, I can
Awesome.
send the slides out afterwards too, no problem.
Great.
I'm really kind of focusing my efforts with this program on 2 main areas. With Gallup, it's Clifton Strengths and well-being. And so I'm going to give you kind of a briefing of what that means. And then overall, it's positive psychology and neuroscience. And that's the PQ, or the positive intelligence piece, that you see there by Shirzad Chamine. So I did his certification course in 2021. I became a Gallup certified strengths coach in 2015. I did my original coaching certificate in 2011 or 12, kind of going backwards. My PE is from 2001. So, like I said, kind of a broad base of about half of my career in engineering and construction, doing the engineering and management side, and then about a decade or so as a coach and workshop facilitator. So I designed the course so that there are 6 virtual workshops, and it's a nice small group like you guys here are today, where the workshops are 90 minutes each. It's all virtual. So there's 6 workshops. They're scheduled every other Thursday for an hour and a half each, spanning the appropriate time zones. It starts at 10 a.m. on the West Coast and 1 p.m. on the East Coast for each of the workshops. There's 2 leadership coaching sessions. So you get a one-on-one with me before the program starts at the end of August / beginning of September, before the first workshop. And then there's a final kind of a capstone leadership coaching session at the end of the workshop series. So that's kind of a wrap up and kind of next steps focused with as one-on-one. Some of the features are really looking at broadening your network with other women that are really hand selected from my projects and clients from around the country. Priyanka, you're in the DC area and you're in Atlanta. Jennifer, I forget where you're at. I think also the Atlanta region with Parsons.
Yes,
And
that's right.
okay, that's what I thought. I was trying to remember which project I knew everyone from. So what I really do is kind of handpick from one project or one client or organization from another. That way, you are broadening your network by people that I know already in my network. Oh, and there's Paula. So Priyanka, you might know Paula from the Paula Nassif from, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, Paula, from the River Renew Project. And then Preeti has joined us from India. Oh my gosh. Wow, that is so cool. Preeti's here. Okay, you guys feel free to turn on your cameras if you want. And if not, I'm just gonna, what I'm doing is just kind of giving a quick run through of the, hi, oh, it's so good to see you.
So good to see you too, Sally.
This is so exciting. Wow, from around the world. So anyway, I was just kind of describing a little bit of the course features, and then I want to give you just a little bit of a teaser of each of the modules from the workshop series so that you can get kind of a little bit of flavor of what the workshop series looks like. And then I'll do questions and answers at the end of our time here together. So the curriculum is really built to design or to refine your unique leadership style. So in alignment with your Clifton strengths, so 3 Clifton strengths reports are included, your core values, so there's a core values exercise, and ultimately developing your authenticity as a woman in the field. I mentioned the workshop dates, the first coaching sessions. The deadline is next Friday, August 16th to register. And if you need some help selling the tuition to your bosses, I've got a canned email for you that maybe would help if I haven't reached out to your manager yet, because some of your managers I may have already reached out to. The alignment solution is really built on this curriculum that I developed, and this is what the workshop series goes through. The first workshop, and I developed it based on, like I said, just my years of experience as a coach and some of the things that I learned kind of in my own leadership journey. The first workshop is all about authenticity and self-awareness. And that's where before the workshop series and before your first coaching, you would do your Clifton Strengths assessment. And I'm going to be giving away a code at the end of this workshop. So if you want to get a jump start on your Clifton Strengths, you can do the assessment ahead of time. So authenticity and self-awareness is the first piece of the alignment curriculum. The second piece is the leadership lens and limiting beliefs. And when I say limiting beliefs, does that conjure up something for you guys? Have you heard of that term before? Just a kind of a quick show of hands. Sometimes it can be known as your saboteurs or that inner critic. It's the voice inside our heads. They're beliefs that we have that are self-critical, that are not necessarily true. So what we call them is a limiting belief, in that there's sometimes these stories that we tell ourselves as women in the industry, as minorities, that can be limiting to us. So the leadership lens and limiting beliefs is all around how do we identify what those voices are, how do we question them, and how do we quiet them down? And you'll see a slide here on that in a second. Workshops 3 and 4 are what I call the intersection of well-being and core values. Workshop 3 is around well-being. And again, I've got a slide that shows the 5 elements of well-being. And then you do a personal core values assessment. So those first 3, kind of the first half of the whole course, you're going to be doing a number of self-assessments. So you start with Clifton Strengths, then you do the PQ, which I'll show you here in a second. That's the positive intelligence quiz. Just a very short quiz, like 10 minutes. And then a core values is a self-assessment that I give you a worksheet of determining your own personal core values. And then we wrap up and really transition to a growth mindset. And that's from your leadership lens of really maintaining a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And then the N in our curriculum is called Nevertheless, She Persisted, which I just had to use that as an N. Some of you know history of where that saying comes from. It's really all about building resistance and vitality in your lives as women and women leaders in the industry. I'll kind of pause there. Any questions as I get started with the first piece here? Okay, great. So has anyone heard of the Gallup Clifton Strengths? If you follow me on LinkedIn, you probably have seen a lot of my posts center around Clifton Strengths. Looks like some are familiar, some are not. Gallup developed this tool, and really if I could back up a second, kind of the whole field of positive psychology was born in the early 90s when Don Clifton and Martin Seligman said, what if we studied what's right with people instead of what's wrong with people? The mental health and psychology field at that time, going back several decades, was really based on studying what's wrong with people and giving them some kind of medicine to fix their mental health problems or their psychology problems. And Gallup and Don Clifton really flipped that on its head and said, what if we study what's right with people and they learn to do more of that? And that's what was proven scientifically by Gallup, which is a research organization, to really prove that that's how human beings can reach their potential is because we were born with these natural talents, natural abilities. And if we can identify what those are through the Clifton Strengths Assessment, which was then developed, then we can help people reach their potential as human beings. So that's what the Gallup Clifton Strengths Assessment is all about. Over 90% of Fortune 500 companies use Clifton Strengths to engage employees and to boost team performance. So it is a solid tool that is recognized by business. And here I've got a quick little slide here. It's a well-recognized business tool that because that's where business is going, is more of the positive psychology and studying what employees do well versus fixing their weaknesses, right? So that's the whole idea of strengths, is helping their employees and helping employees and people do more of what they already do well. I mentioned the 4 decades of research. This was really built going back into the 90s. With over 35 million users to date have taken the assessment. It doesn't narrow people down. Some of you might be familiar with Myers-Briggs, or there's a colors assessment, or there's many different types of assessments that are out there. This one gives you a broad base of 34 themes of talent. That's what was on this previous slide. They're all color-coded. What you get is a ranked assessment or results of your strengths that show up the strongest for you. So you get this kind of color-coded DNA based on these 34 themes of talent. And I want to give you a quick example here. I'll put that slide back up there. A quick example. Go ahead and take your pen and a piece of paper and write your name with your dominant hand. And then that should have been pretty easy. How did that feel?
Awesome.
Awesome. Okay, easy. You didn't really have to think about it. Now I'm going to challenge you to switch hands and write your name with your non-dominant hand. Unless you're ambidextrous, then this won't work. So when you write it with your non-dominant hand, Preeti, you're laughing. How does that look? How did that work for you?
It looked like my signature when I was like 6 years old.
Right.
I mean, it looks like a 2-year-old is trying to scribble.
Yeah, exactly. Like a 2-year-old trying to scribble. Or when you were 6, Jennifer, thanks for chiming in there. It's a lot harder when you switch hands, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't come naturally to you. And that's what our strengths are all about. It doesn't come naturally. You have to think about it. It takes work. It's harder. So when we look at our strengths results, we do have strengths that are in our lesser list, that are lower down on the list. And those are like writing with your non-dominant hand. Those are strengths that aren't really working for us. We don't need them because we don't often have to use them. Where we get results easily is from writing with our dominant hand or using our strengths and talents that come naturally to us, right? So the whole idea here is about being your best self. And that's what my whole course is based on. It's 3 months of working with others in a small group with the learning materials that I give you. Well, and I'll walk through kind of the highlights of each of the modules. But the idea is you don't have to be a different person to be successful. You don't have to be all things to all people. And in fact, you can't be anything you want to be, but you can be more of who you already are. And that's what this course was really developed on, is you can learn to be more of who you already are and how to be a better version of yourself in alignment with your strengths and values. So when you get the first step in the program is you do your Clifton Strengths assessment, and you get your results based on these 34 themes of talent. These are considered the domains, where we have the green ones that are strategic thinking. We have influencing themes of how to take charge, how to speak up, make sure the team is heard. Those are themes like communication, competition. We have relationship building themes here in the middle. Those are the blue ones. It's how to hold a team together and make the team greater than the sum of its parts. And then in the executing domain, we've got themes like achiever, responsibility, discipline, focus. These are how we get things done. So just by kind of looking at some of the names, you can kind of discern what some of them might mean. What Gallup gives you is a deep dive assessment into your greatest strengths with personalized reports, and you get 3 of them as part of this program. You get your all 34. So it's a deep dive into all 34 of your themes in a kind of a generic sense for some of them, but your dominant themes are listed specifically how those themes come out for you. And what I mean by that is themes have combinations. So you get this top 5 report also, where if someone has woo and maximizer, you can't necessarily isolate those two by themselves. So this is what you get when you combine woo and maximizer. This is just an example. Woo means winning others over. It's the only one of the themes that's actually an acronym. But you can kind of see just by a quick scan how your themes combine with one another, and that's what this top 5 report shows. And then the third report that you get, so you get the all 34, you get the top 5, and then you get a Clifton Strengths for Leaders report, which I show in a later slide, I believe. Just making sure I'm doing okay on my time here. That really shows how you can apply your themes or your talents and strengths in a leadership role. So that's the specific leadership report that I include as part of the program. Okay, so that's module 1. So, and that's also coaching session number 1 is we focus on your strengths, and for you individual, your strengths reports. And then module 1 looks at the whole team, the whole group. Like if it was the 5 of you, we would look at all of your strengths combined on a grid and see how we would develop our strengths as a team over time. And so you guys would get to know each other throughout the course of the program. The second workshop, forget the April date on here. These are from the slides are from my spring workshop series. It would have a September date on it. The second workshop is called This Leadership Lens and Limiting Beliefs. So the limiting beliefs are also this inner critic. And the idea is under the model of positive psychology and positive intelligence, what we call PQ, is that your mind, your inside of your mind, can be your best friend and your worst enemy. So PQ, we've heard of IQ and EQ, right? So PQ is this measure or the relative strength of these 2 modes in your mind. Is your mind being either your best friend or is it being your worst enemy by that kind of critical self-talk? And we can learn, and that's what this module is, module 2, we can learn how to really identify those thoughts and the intentions of those thoughts and how to quiet down that inner saboteur. So the PQ assessment does, we all have a primary saboteur, and he or she, whatever you want to label him, gender-wise, is called the judge. We all have the judge. The judge judges ourselves. He or she judges others, and he or she judges circumstances. It's that inner script that is just constantly running in our head. And so the judge is the universal saboteur. We all have the judge. And then when you do the PQ assessment, you identify your top 2, what we call accomplice saboteurs. And this is based on this positive intelligence book that I showed on one of the previous slides by Shirzad Shameen, and recognized expert in the field of positive intelligence. So your PQ, if you have a high PQ score, then that means your mind is acting more as your friend than its enemy, and then low PQ is the opposite. So the PQ score that you get when you take the assessment is an indication of the control that you have of your own mind and how well your mind is serving you. That's basically the gist of it. In this module, we learn how to think new thoughts, how to change those thoughts, and think new thoughts with intention. And this is what Shirzad calls mental fitness. And it's a way of changing from self-sabotage to self-mastery. Does that make sense so far? It's not easy to do. But this is some of the skills that you would learn in module 2 is really how to do that. How do you just think new thoughts, right? Go ahead, Anne.
I will just say that I don't have an inner judge. I have an inner group of guys at a bar. They're all sitting at the bar talking about everything. And sometimes they say stuff like that, which is limiting. And sometimes they come up with new ideas and then go, you think. It's more of a committee.
Yeah. Okay.
That's been my experience.
Okay. Yeah, it can be a committee, a whole group of guys.
Yeah.
And not surprising they would show up as guys.
And it is guys at a bar, right? And I have noticed that. Yeah. Anyway.
Interesting. Yeah, one of the ladies in the spring cohort had already labeled as the false voice. So she knew this false voice, and she didn't call it the judge. She just called it the false voice. And so we all have this inner dialogue, right? And so we can learn through these mental fitness skills how to master your mind, in other words, how to quiet the guys in the bar and that aren't serving you. The guys that are joking and like laughing at your ideas.
Yeah.
And you can learn to quiet them down. So workshop 3 is where we start to transition into well-being and core values. That's workshop 3 and 4. Well-being, so this one is based on this book by Gallup, is Well-Being at Work. How to build resilient and thriving teams. Based on over 100 million global interviews, Gallup has studied over 98% of the world's population, which is insane. Like that's just an incredible amount of research. So they distilled down out of all of this research, over 100 million different interviews worldwide, into 5 elements that equate to leading a thriving life, right? So when the subtitle here is how to build resilient and thriving teams, we look at each of the 5 elements, which are right here up on the screen, and define we discuss how does Gallup define a thriving life in terms of these 5 elements. So the first one being physical is you have energy to get things done. Career is you like what you do every day. We're familiar with employee engagement and, are you engaged at work? Do you like what you're doing? Are you disengaged and looking for another job, right? How do you feel when you get out of bed every day is one of my standard questions on a partnering survey, because I want to know, and I think it's important for leaders to know, how are their employees doing in their careers? Do they like what they do every day? So that's the measurement for career. Social is you have meaningful friendships in your life. Financial is defined by managing your money well. And then community is you like where you live. So those are just kind of the quick definitions. And in workshop 3, we dive deeper into each of the definitions. We also do a self-evaluation of where do you think you are currently in your life in each of those 5 elements. And then a year from now, what do you want each of those 5 elements to look like? So we do this ladder exercise as part of workshop 3. And then workshop 4 is all around core values. And so what we can see is, I call it the intersection of core values and well-being, because some people have really strong alignment around those 5 elements, and some people think that, you know, there's other things that are more important to themselves, for themselves. So we do this exercise on personal core values. And this is a snapshot of what the exercise looks like. It's basically a sorting exercise where you read through all of the different values that you see up on the screen and kind of sort down to what are the ones that are most important to you as an individual, as a person, as a leader. Not the ones that your company thinks are the most important, but you as a leader think are the most important. What are your non-negotiables? And what is it about these non-negotiables that makes them important to you? So we do a deeper dive into core values during this workshop 4. And I also do this, just a very kind of simple, quick self-assessment. I mentioned the ladder exercise where you kind of rank from 1 to 10 on your core values. We do the same type of exercise on well-being, and then we look at where is that overlap, or is there overlap, or are they 5 distinct things in each area, and that where is that alignment? What we find with employees is they are most engaged when their personal core values are in alignment with that of their organizations. So if you're working in a field or an organization where your values aren't being recognized, or they're not in alignment with that of your organization, most employees will leave. That's the number one reason why employees leave their organizations, is because they're out of alignment with their values. So again, another really important thing to know about yourself. Really, a lot of this course is around self-awareness and self-discovery, right? So knowing what your core values can help drive your decisions and where you want to be focusing your time. We also do, let's see, I'm good on time here. Speaking of time, we also do this kind of fun framework called Tiny Habits. And this is yet another book in my collection here by Dr. BJ Fogg. And this is, is anyone familiar with this? I'm just curious if you've heard of this book. So this module, this is part of module 4, where we talk about the Tiny Habits recipe and the difference between building habits versus taking an action, right? A habit is like brushing your teeth every morning versus an action is going to the dentist every 6 months, right? So what are those tiny habits that we can incorporate into our daily lives that are going to move us forward in terms of helping to feed our core values and our strengths, and help us with that mind mastery? So we spend a little bit of time developing some tiny habits in workshop 4. And then workshop 5, so we're coming up to workshop 5, is growth mindset. This is the G in our alignment curriculum here, is growth mindset. And there's a difference, and I've just got the slides up here on the screen. I'm not going to read them all to you here, but between a fixed mindset leader and a growth mindset leader. And the general gist of it is that to have a team, to have a team full of growth mindset people, not just yourself, but as we're starting to transition in this module to thinking about you as a leader and as a team leader, is to build long-term team success, is having not just yourself with a growth mindset, but your team full of growth mindset people. And that's where you focus on learning and growing versus placing blame on others or making excuses or avoid challenges. So that's growth mindset in a very quick nutshell. There's a whole module on growth mindset and some other things around mindset, as you can start to see some alignment with the PQ and the mental fitness piece. And then the last module, nevertheless, she persisted. This is module 6, and it's really, as I mentioned, it's really about building resilience and learning to recognize when we might be suffering from some burnout symptoms. So we talk a bit about burnout, building skills to overcome burnout or to really prevent it in the first place. And we look at your Clifton Strengths for Leaders report. So this is a snapshot out of Clifton Strengths for Leaders, which is that 3rd report I referenced. This is just an example using responsibility. And one of the exercises that we do toward the end of the series is thinking about, what am I committed to that I need to let go of? What is what is maybe not in alignment with my core values, not in alignment with my mental fitness, not in alignment with my well-being elements, and what do I need to let go of? Because those with high responsibility talents have a hard time letting go. They have a hard time delegating. They feel responsible for everything that's on their to-do list, and they have a hard time sometimes letting things go. So we do an exercise in the last workshop around not just for those with responsibility talents, it's aggravated for that in that case, but we do an exercise as a cohort around what do you need to let go of. And then let's see, last but not least, we do this 10 rules for brilliant women. This is based on another book in my collection here, Playing Big. If you're familiar with this one, and I'll give you the quick conclusion. It's called Playing Big: Practical Practical Wisdom for Women Who Want to Speak Up, Create, and Lead. And then I will put this in the slides, Anne, so you don't need to copy all these down, and I'm not going to read them all to you. I'm just going to go through this real quickly in the interest of time. The one I love that the most, and I love that it's number 10 for this reason, is let other women know that they're brilliant. And that is part of the reason for developing this course, is because I have a personal mission to support women in the industry, because I am one, and I think we do face unique challenges as women in the industry that the men they don't get. And they wouldn't get it unless they were women, right? So I want to end this by saying you guys are all brilliant women for a whole lot of reasons. And this is the kind of the last exercise in the workshop series. And then I give this kind of additional reading. Again, Anne, you don't need to take screenshots. I'll send you guys these slides afterwards. But these are some of the resources that I pull from in all of the modules in the course. I have high input. So input is my number 4 talent. Learner is my number 1. I love to learn. I love to teach. And input has a deep craving to know more. So I have a whole bookshelf of all of this coaching stuff that I have learned over the past decade. And this is also my way of sharing it with other women in the industry, is by creating this course. So let's see. This is a quick snapshot. This was I'm going kind of quick here because I want to leave a couple minutes for questions. This is in the attachment. This is just all the 6 workshop dates that are coming up for the fall course. So you've got that. And then lastly, I have some feedback from previous participants. I think this was also in my kind of teaser email with some of the things that other participants have said in the past. I've only done this twice. I did a pilot in the fall of last year, so a pilot in 2023. I kind of developed it, the whole curriculum and all the materials. I had this brainchild of doing this, I think in 22 timeframe. In 23, I developed all the materials. In late 23, I delivered the first cohort. And then I did a spring version in this year. So I decided to do only 2 per year, spring and fall, because it spans 3 months. And there's some lead up and catch up time afterwards. So an excellent program, contained more information and insight, comfortable enough with the group. It is a small group. The previous groups have had 7 and 8 participants respectively. So it's a nice sized group where people really felt like they got to know each other over the 3 months. And if you needed some support from your manager, I have a template here that I'm happy to share. If you were interested in the course, you can copy and paste and steal any of this, but it's something that you could send to your manager and ask if they would be supportive of you attending. And let's see, what else? I'm going to give away a Clifton Strengths code. I'm going to say thank you, but I would love to just pause. I threw a lot of information at you. And ask if there's any questions, any feedback, thoughts.
Well, Sally, I appreciate you taking the time to, reach out to your own network and let us know about this opportunity. I'm going to ask,
You are very hard to hear, Jennifer.
oh, sorry. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better.
All right. I said, Sally, I just want to thank you for taking the time to share this information with us. As had I not connected with you through department programs, I probably wouldn't have known that.
You
Thank you so
probably
much.
wouldn't have. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Anne, did you have something to ask or comment?
I think I'm mostly just thinking, wow, this is a topic and a set of ways to think about it that I've been thinking about this since I started down this road in, I don't know, 1980. You know, working in a male dominated industry, I mean, for a long time, for example, when I worked in California, there were only 2 women in
Wow.
in a district of 135 salaried employees. There were only 2 salaried women, and
Wow.
almost all of the other non-salaried employees, admins and stuff like that in the office were all women. And so, boy, it's an issue, and it ties into, I think, a lot of things that I've been thinking about for a very long time. I'm very interested, for sure. And
Great.
depending on how that bid opening goes on Thursday, you'll see.
Oh,
You'll hear back from me on Friday.
that's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a big one going on this week, isn't there?
next week. Yeah.
Oh, next week. That's right. That's what I meant. Next week.
Yeah,
The 13th or the
The
15th. Okay.
Yeah. So as I told my boss, is I have never shown up for work with alcohol in my system or in my hand. I will on Thursday. So he goes, let's have a walk.
Just in case?
No, I invited the whole office. And
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, I'm making gin and tonics for everybody.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Olympics. But
Right.
this sounds really, really interesting, Sally, and I appreciate
Right.
having the opportunity to possibly jump in. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to have you.
For sure.
That's great.
It's over.
Good. I do too. All right. Well, with 4 whole minutes left, I did promise to give away a Clifton Strengths code. So my question, since there's only 5 of you here, wait, 4 of you, 1, 2, 3, 4. There was a 5th person that dropped off. It was Priyanka. Just jotting that down. The question to win the Strengths code is the person who has lived in the most states and or foreign countries combined. So if you lived in 5 states and 2 international locations, just count the internationals as extra states. So does that make sense? Because I figured
Yes,
this industry,
but
this
okay.
industry,
But
we
it will
move
take
around
me
a lot.
while to, yeah, so okay.
It's going to take you a minute to figure. Oh, Preeti,
Wow.
you've moved all over India too, haven't you?
Right, exactly. So that's what I was saying. It'll take me a while to actually calculate, I mean, count all the places that I have been to. So this is only related to work, right? Or is it
No, just
overall?
wherever, overall, your whole life.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I mean, at least off the cuff, at least 15, even without like counting, I think, yeah, at least 15. Let me try to count.
Is anyone close to 15? Anne, you've probably
Yes.
moved around a lot. Okay.
Yes. I'm in terms of states in the United States. Yes. Hang on. I'm making a list.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, well, while they're counting, I'm out. It's only 3 for me.
Okay. Jennifer, I'm glad you could join. This is great to, well, even though I can't see you, it's great to hear your voice.
Yeah, I know. I gotta talk to Parsons about getting some equipment update here, or at least a webcam.
Say that again?
I have to talk to Parsons about getting the equipment update or at least a webcam.
Yes, at least a webcam. Or you could do it on a, I suppose on a personal device, like on your phone would have worked,
Yeah.
but then you can't see the slides very well. All right, Paula, how about you? How many states have you lived in? We might have lost Paula. All right, Preeti or Anne?
I definitely have 15 states that I have lived in. I think there's one more because I make this list occasionally and go, really? But I've never lived out of the country.
Okay.
So
It looks like,
I'll definitely stick with the 15.
okay, solid
Yeah.
15.
Yeah.
Preeti, how about you? What'd you come up with?
I'm just like losing track again and again. Wait, let me.
Okay. And Paula put in the text or in the chat that your microphone isn't working for some reason,
16,
but
I
lived
do.
in 5.
I
Oh,
forgot
and
I forgot about Louisiana. Yeah.
oh, okay. This is pretty impressive.
Sixteen. Where else? 17.
I think she's got Anne beat.
Yeah, 18.
Wow.
Okay, and I'm sure I'm still missing some. Yeah, okay, 19.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you win the prize, Preeti.
Definitely win.
So this includes both India and
And the
international.
yeah, no, that's perfect. So
Yeah.
if I could ask you all a favor, just drop your email, like your preferred email addresses, because Preeti, I'm not sure if I have your email address. Just put it in the
you
chat
have
real
it. I
quick.
can drop again in the chat.
Just put it in the chat. That way I can make sure I send you the code.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of you, some of you I had, like Paula, I think I might have had your Gmail because I copied some of your emails off of LinkedIn. So if you have a better email address to send the slides to, then otherwise I'll just use the same one that I sent out. Gmail works. Okay, that's perfect. Okay.
Yeah, the address you have for me works. Yep.
Okay, I think it was your work address.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. Well, ladies, how did we do in 46 minutes?
Pretty good.
Excellent. It was really, I mean, one is that it's lovely to see you after such a,
You
it seems like
too.
it's been forever. And the time difference and the odd hours made no difference. I was really looking forward to attending your
Yeah.
webinar.
What time is it there?
It's 1:15 in the morning.
Oh my gosh, you poor thing.
No, but I really wanted to attend the webinar, and I would agree with Jennifer. I'm sorry, with Anne. Although I wasn't, I wouldn't go way back, but I wish this course was available in 2015, 16. When we were both with Fleur, it would have really, really helped. And I think probably my life would have been in a different direction. It would have gone in a different direction had this been there.
That's kind of what I had kind of drew my own conclusion. Preeti and I used to work at Floor together many, many moons ago. And I just kind of, it dawned on me as I was getting more into the coaching field, as I mentioned earlier, that like women, we face different things, and having a course like this would really help for like younger in careers, and even, more experienced. I had some people in the last 2 cohorts that were within a year or 2 of retirement, and they loved it also. So it's like that really, the curriculum really fits toward any stage of career wise, because it's life skills, the mental fitness and the Clifton strengths. It's
very well designed, very well
thank you.
designed.
I agree.
Thank you. All right,
Great job.
ladies. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
You know
you,
where to
Sandy.
find me. If you have any other questions, I'll send the slides out to you guys. And
Yes.
I hope
I'll
to
reach
see you
out to
soon.
you separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a
Perfect.
wonderful week. Yep.
All right. You too. Go back to bed.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
All
Sally.
right.
Nice to
Bye.
meet
Thank
all.
you guys. Bye.
Bye.